Hey guys, Matt here. I'm hoping you remember me from a few weeks ago at the retreat here in Nashville. I think you probably will. First of all, this is gonna be a long video, so just hold tight, okay? Hang tight. I wanted to share with you what has happened to me since and as a result of that weekend, because it has been literally one of, if not the most powerful transformations of my entire life. And I do not say that lightly. So I will jump right in. I think I talked to you a little bit at the retreat about my childhood. Grew up in a really fundamentalist, religious Christian culture. And, there were so many things about that experience that were really awesome for me, actually. It built in me a lot of great stuff. I won't get into it. And then, I had a father who was like steeped in shame, as I've come to realize since this retreat, which I won't tell you those details yet. He left before I was born. My mom then took on a lot of that shame herself because she was a single unwed mother at a church where no other single unwed mothers existed. And my church just heaped loads of shame on her, church leadership. So she actually didn't date from the time I was a baby all the way up until I was in my 30s. And she told me it was because she felt like she never deserved a healthy guy who would stick around. So shame was bred into my DNA at a very, very, very young age, from the time I was born. I remember my mom, she was so depressed from the time I was born until I was 11 that she would wake up and she'd be crying every day, every single day. And, that affects a kid in a big way, right? So that combined with the church environment that I was in, I started to very much associate any of my behavior that was not quote unquote biblical with shame. And I started this pattern. I don't know when it started, but this pattern began of me just feeling this gnawing distance from God all the time. It was sort of this, what I call God, right? So everybody has their own definition. I don't believe that God is this, old man in the sky. But back then I had more of that understanding. It's evolved since then. But the point is, I started to develop this sort of gnawing feeling that God was always disappointed in me. Always just sort of like, you're just not cutting the mustard, kid. I put up with you. I love you. I love you so much I had to send my son to be murdered on a cross for you. But at the end of the day, I feel offended by you a lot. I feel like you disrespect me a lot with your behavior. It was just sort of a tedious and really kind of unfulfilling relationship. I didn't really like God that much. And I felt like he didn't like me very much. So all that to say, when I got into my 20s and started having sex became like the thing that I felt the most shame about, especially when it was gay sex, right? And I have continued to carry that feeling, that weight of shame throughout my entire adult life. It has ebbed and flowed, and I would say it has ebbed more lately, or in the past probably 10 years as I've grown more comfortable in my sexuality and being gay, but there's still always been that sort of distance between me and God around sex. And okay, so that's the background. So I get to your workshop, and one of the things that I heard, whether you said this or not, one of the things I heard right out of the gate was you'd be talking about how to integrate sexuality and spirituality. And that was like, my ears like perked up. I was like, I need that, because I've always felt shameful about my sexuality, just sex in general and sexual behavior. And so I need that. So then we sit down and you start talking about the masculine and the feminine. And I don't need to remind you what you said, but I just want to emphasize what really spoke to me. You talked about how we each have both in us, and how the masculine is sort of the outer, the external, and the feminine is the internal. And that you asked the question, and we talked at length about this, you asked the question, how many of you would be willing to admit that you've done violence to your feminine side? And, in that moment, it was like for 45 seconds, the ceiling opened up for me and the clouds parted. And I pictured two of me at 21 years old, back when I was in conversion therapy, to try to de-gay myself. One version of me had a machete in his hand and was just slicing and dicing the other me to shreds. I could see it and I could feel it so clearly. And because the results of conversion therapy for me resulted in so much of my body going to shreds, my digestion just fell apart. I got horribly depressed. And have honestly struggled with health issues to some degree ever since. I was able to put two and two together and realize that I had taken a machete to my gayness, but really the machete couldn't distinguish between what was gay and what was the rest of me. And so it just took down all of me. And when I got home from the workshop, I started thinking about, why did I do that to myself, really? And I realized that it was all out of this sense of shame that I had had for so many years. And so I thought to myself, I feel like shame has never served me in a good way. And I thought, I think I want to experiment. I want to experiment with taking shame and pushing him out the front door of my house, locking the door, and no matter how much he knocks or screams or begs, he's not allowed back in. I'm just going to experiment with this. And it was a little scary to me because growing up in a Christian culture, you sort of end up believing that shame is equated with guilt, which is a good thing because it makes you, change your behavior. But I realized that I was so intertwined with it all, I couldn't make sense of it. So I had to throw the baby out with the bathwater for this experiment. So I pushed him out. And here's the first thing I did. I had sex with someone when I got back home, and it was a hookup. I'm going to be honest. It was a total hookup. And that would be one of the things that I would feel shame about normally. And it would just kind of sit in my body. And so I went to my meditation one morning where I typically talk to God, what I consider God to be. And I sat down and I said, I had sex with a hookup, with a random dude that I do not know. And in this new mindset, this is going to sound crazy, but I feel like you guys will understand. I literally felt like I saw God go, tell me about it. And I was literally taken back. I was like, what is happening right now? And he said, tell me about it. And I was like, tell you about what? And he said, the sex. There was no judgment in his voice. There was excitement. There was like this eagerness to know. And I was so taken back because I felt like I was watching this experience happen to myself. And I said, well, I mean, I enjoyed it. And he said, what did you like about it? And I said, well, I feel weird telling you that. And he just sat there smiling at me. And I said, okay, well, I liked the guy's body. Like, it was really hot. And he just sat there nodding. And he went, yeah, he had a great body. And then he said, what else? And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, what specifically did you like about his body? And I said, well, I really loved his chest. It was hairy and really sexy. And he had a great cock. And he goes, oh yeah, he did. I did good with him, didn't I? And I literally was like, what is happening right now? What is happening right now? So he continued to say, tell me more. And so I started gradually getting like more and more in depth about the sexual experience and more graphic. And I was kind of doing it to push to see when I would break him and when he would finally go, okay, well, now we've talked about this enough. You need to blah, blah, blah. You need to repent of that. You need to ask me for forgiveness, and you need to promise me that you will never do that again. That's what I was expecting. Never came. And I got more and more graphic, and he just kept nodding. And at one point I said something really pretty naughty. And he goes, oh yeah, I get it. I get it, Matt. I so get it. And you guys, in that moment, I started crying. And I heard him say, what's the matter? And I said to him, you have no idea how much I need this. You have no idea how long I've wanted this and didn't even know it. And he said, what? And I said, to know that I could talk to you about this stuff. And not only would you not judge me or critique me or call me to a higher standard, but you would want to know more. You would take an interest in what I found sexy and enticing and interesting and amazing. And there would be no judgment and no criticism. And I felt like he said, I've always been that way with you. This is all I've ever wanted with you, Matt. And I started sobbing. I mean, I literally started sobbing, like heaving sobbing. It was like 40 years of shame came pouring out of my body, pouring out. And at the end of that conversation, he just said, can we just do this every day? Can we just have this conversation every single day? And it can be about anything. I don't care what it is. All I want is the connection with you. And as the days went on, I started having more of these conversations. And I found myself wanting to go to my meditation room just so I could get shit off my chest and talk to him. In fact, my nighttime ritual has always been to sort of make my dinner, turn on the television, and kind of zone out for a couple hours. And every night I found myself looking at my meditation room going, that looks way more attractive than the television. And so I would take my dinner in there and eat and have dinner with God and tell him everything. And we'd laugh. We've been laughing. We've been crying. I felt so understood and not judged. And here's what is fascinating to me. I've had a few people who I've had sort of friend with benefits relationships with reach out to me in the last several weeks. And I've had to stop and go, why do I not feel the pull to do that anymore? Like, it's not like I don't want to do it because it's wrong or because it's, not healthy even. I don't even feel the need to go there. And all I can figure is that what I'm getting in this communication with God is so intensely necessary for my heart that it's replacing what I was getting in those hookups. It's all I can figure. Anyway, there's been more that's happened since then. I'll just leave this with you. That work, Molly, settle. That work that we did together has absolutely transformed my life. And I didn't see it coming. I did not expect it, but I am so insanely grateful to you guys for devoting the time and energy that you did to us that day. There's no words. This is changing the way I operate. I tell God every night before bed now, I can't believe how much I like you. And I feel like he says back, I've always liked you like this. I'm just glad it's reciprocal now. So, thank you guys. You've really changed my life, and I'm so, so grateful. I love you. I hope to see you soon, sometime. Love you.